Every night held a secret promise, but tonight felt especially charged with possibility. I discovered a handwritten note lying on my table, a simple message that immediately set my heart racing. "I'll be waiting for you tonight." Those few words stirred something deep inside me, a blend of eager anticipation and a touch of apprehension that had been growing over the past few weeks. My name is Jordan, and over these past months, I've found myself irresistibly drawn to Travis, a man whose calm confidence and genuine kindness slowly chipped away at the walls I'd built around my heart. We first met at a small gathering among mutual friends, and from that moment on, every exchanged glance and whispered conversation hinted at a connection that went far beyond casual acquaintance. Although our lives were ordinary in many ways, an unspoken understanding grew between us, a delicate energy suggesting that what we shared might be something extraordinary. That evening, as the twilight deepened into night, I found myself alone in my modest apartment. The silence allowed my mind to wander back to every meaningful moment we'd shared. The way Travis had listened with such intent when I spoke, the quiet warmth that emanated from him even in crowded rooms, and the rare glimpses of vulnerability he'd let slip. Holding the note in my hand, I felt a familiar mix of hope and uncertainty. I've always been cautious about following my heart, guarding my emotions from the risk of pain. Yet there was something in Travis's invitation, a gentle assurance hidden in his neat handwriting, that made me long to let down my defenses. I sat by my window, watching the streetlights flicker to life, and recalled the subtle shifts in our encounter, the lingering look in his eyes, the soft smile that hinted at deeper feelings. Every ordinary moment between us seemed charged with unspoken promises, as if fate were urging us to step into a new reality. Tonight was meant to be the turning point. The note wasn't just an invitation, it was a signal that our hidden connection was ready to emerge from the shadows. With every tick of the clock, my pulse quickened, and I couldn't help but wonder what Travis had planned. Had he found a new way to express the depth of his feeling? Or was this simply an invitation for a quiet conversation, beneath which lay the stirring of emotions too powerful to ignore? I rose slowly from my chair, my mind buzzing with thoughts of what might come. The familiar comfort of my apartment now felt like a prelude to something much larger. I grabbed my coat and took one last lingering look at the note, memorizing the elegant loops of its handwriting. Outside, the city pulsed with life, its streets a tapestry of light and shadow that perfectly matched the secret thrill of tonight's promise. The walk to the little CAF, where we'd agreed to meet, was surreal, as if each step carried me away from the mundane and toward the extraordinary. The cool night air brushed against my skin, yet it did nothing to temper the fire of anticipation burning within me. Memories of earlier, chance encounters, quiet afternoons in hidden corners of bookstores, stolen moments over shared smiles, flashed through my mind. I wondered if tonight might finally reveal the true depth of our connection. The CAF, modest yet inviting, was nearly empty when I entered. Soft jazz played in the background, intermingling with the low hum of a few late-night patrons. I chose a quiet table in the back, my eyes scanning the room for a familiar face. When Travis finally appeared, his presence was understated yet undeniably magnetic. His warm smile, genuine and unguarded, immediately dispelled any lingering doubts. In that smile, I recognized not only comfort but the promise of all that we had yet to share. Our greetings were brief but laden with meaning, and soon we were immersed in conversation. We began with the everyday, discussing work, favorite books, and the small joys of life, but beneath every word lay a current of unspoken emotion. Travis's voice was calm and measured, each syllable carrying a subtle assurance that resonated deeply with me. I felt as though, with every word, he was gradually opening a door to a part of him I longed to know. As the evening unfolded, our talk shifted to more personal reflections. We shared dreams that once seemed distant, and fears that we rarely admitted even to ourselves. In those quiet moments, I saw Travis in a new light, a man of depth and sensitivity, longing for connection as much as I was. His gentle sincerity made me yearn to reveal my own hidden hopes and vulnerabilities. Yet, despite the intimacy of our conversation, there was an unspoken agreement to savor the moment without rushing toward declaration. Our eyes met several times across the table, exchanging silent promises that said more than words ever could. In that charged silence, we both acknowledged the risk we were taking, the leap from comfort into the unpredictable realm of deep emotion. When it was finally time to leave, neither of us wanted to shatter the delicate magic of the evening. Stepping out into the cool night, we paused on the sidewalk, reluctant to return to the ordinary world. Travis's parting words were soft and sincere. "See you soon, Jordan." Though simple, they carried the weight of everything left unsaid between us. Walking back to my apartment, I replayed every detail of our encounter. The gentle murmur of jazz in the background, the warmth in his eyes, and the silent, powerful language of our glances. I realized that what had started as a mere spark was evolving into something much more profound, something that might redefine both our lives. Yet, I also sensed the caution of a heart aware that every step into the unknown carried its own risks. Later that night, lying in the quiet of my room, I couldn't help but reread the note in my mind. Its words were a reminder that true change often begins with a small, brave step. I knew that my path was about to branch into unfamiliar territory, a journey filled with both beauty and uncertainty. And though I felt the tug of caution, I also felt the stirring of a new, daring desire to live fully, to embrace every possibility without fear. In the stillness of the night, as the city hummed softly outside my window, I made a silent promise to myself. I would see Travis again, not as a fleeting moment in an ordinary evening, but as the beginning of a journey toward discovering parts of myself that had long remained hidden. That night marked the start of something extraordinary, a promise of growth, of passion, and of transformation. Every word in that note, every subtle gesture in the CAF, whispered to me of the potential for a new life. I understood that the road ahead would be uncertain and perhaps fraught with challenges, yet the allure of a genuine connection was too strong to resist. I knew then that I was ready to step forward, to let go of my guarded past and embrace the promise of tomorrow. The next day, I woke with a lingering sense of warmth and quiet excitement. The memory of last night's gentle connection with Travis had colored my morning in soft hues of hope. I found myself replaying his sincere smile and the way his eyes held mine, even if only for a fleeting moment. Each detail of our encounter felt etched into my mind, a promise of a deeper story waiting to unfold. After a calm breakfast in the soft morning light, I decided to visit the local park. I needed some time alone to let my thoughts settle and to understand the stirring emotions that had taken root within me. The park, with its rustling trees and peaceful paths, always had a way of helping me reflect on my feelings. As I walked slowly along the winding trail, I could almost sense that the day held a special kind of magic, a gentle prelude to something important. A few hours later, I received a message on my phone. It was from Travis. His note was simple yet filled with anticipation. Meet me at the Riverside CAF this evening. I'd like to talk. I paused for a moment, my heart quickening with both excitement and a subtle nervousness. There was something sincere and caring in his invitation that made me trust him more with each passing day. The remainder of the afternoon passed in a soft blur. I found myself drifting between memories of our previous meeting and the unknown promise of tonight's encounter. I spent the hours reading and writing in my journal, trying to capture the mix of emotions swirling inside me. I recalled our conversation at the CAF, the way our words had danced around the subject of dreams and fears, and how even the pauses between our sentences had spoken volumes. The more I reflected, the clearer it became that our connection was rooted in something genuine, a shared desire to explore not only our own hearts but the mysterious ways our lives were beginning to intertwine. As evening approached, I carefully chose a light, comfortable dress that felt like an expression of both vulnerability and strength. I could feel a subtle transformation within myself, the readiness to embrace something new and beautiful, even if it meant stepping into uncertainty. The evening air was cool and crisp, and as I walked to the Riverside CAF, I marveled at the calm flow of the river and the gentle glow of twilight that bathes the city in soft colors. The CAF was nestled near the water, its large windows offering a view of the serene river gently moving under the evening sky. Inside, the ambience was warm and inviting. The low murmur of quiet conversation and the soft clinking of cups created a cocoon of calm that helped ease my inner anticipation. I chose a corner table, feeling both eager and a bit nervous about what was to come. It wasn't long before Travis arrived. He entered quietly, his expression calm and reassuring as he spotted me and walked over with measured steps. His eyes held a tenderness that immediately made me feel seen and understood. We exchanged a gentle greeting, and without the need for many words, it was clear that both of us were ready to delve deeper into the emotions we had begun to share. After ordering our drinks, we settled into a conversation that seemed to carry the weight of our unspoken hopes. Travis began by recalling a childhood memory, a moment of simple beauty, a time when he felt truly free and connected with the world. His voice was soft yet sincere, and as he described the laughter and sunlight of that long-ago summer day, I could see a glimmer of the man beneath the calm exterior. It was as if he was inviting me not only to listen, but to share in the mosaic of his experiences. I listened intently, And when my turn came, I spoke about a time when I felt most alive, an afternoon spent wandering through a forgotten part of the city, discovering hidden alleys and quiet gardens. As I recounted the details, I felt the bond between us deepen, as though we were both stitching together fragments of our past into a shared tapestry. There was a mutual understanding that we weren't simply passing moments. We were slowly, carefully exploring parts of ourselves that had long been kept hidden. The conversation naturally drifted to our present and what we might hope for in the future. Travis asked softly, "Do you ever feel that you're on the brink of something that will change you?" His question resonated deeply within me. I admitted that I had felt that way more times than I could count. It wasn't merely about the thrill of a new romance. It was about the desire to break free from a life that had become too predictable, too safe. I spoke of the longing to be seen in a way that made me feel alive, not just existing. There was a pause as we both considered the weight of our shared vulnerability. In that quiet moment, the noise of the CAF seemed to fade away, leaving just the two of us in a space where honesty and hope intertwined. Travis's eyes met mine, and I could see in them a reflection of my own courage, a spark that said he, too, was ready to embrace change. We then talked about the importance of taking small, brave steps. Rather than making grand declarations, our conversation was filled with promises to try, to lean into the uncertainty together. It was a gentle understanding that even if the future was unwritten, the act of sharing our hearts was a declaration in itself. Travis confided that he had been grappling with the fear of change, of leaving behind the familiar for a chance at something unpredictable but profoundly real. I shared my own worries about the risks involved, about how opening up completely might lead to pain as much as it could lead to joy. Yet, in the warmth of our exchange, it became clear that our willingness to face those risks was what connected us. It was as if the simple act of being honest about our uncertainties was a stepping stone toward a more meaningful life. By the time the evening had deepened into a starry night, our conversation had shifted from words to a comfortable silence punctuated by small smiles and knowing glances. The soft ambient light of the CAF merged with the natural glow of the moonlit river, creating an atmosphere that felt almost magical. There was no need for overt gestures. The calm energy between us was enough to convey our shared commitment to moving forward. When it was finally time to part ways, Travis walked me to the door of the CAF. Standing on the threshold, he took a gentle step closer and said, "Thank you for sharing this evening with me, Jordan. I feel like I'm finally beginning to understand what it means to be truly connected." His words wrapped around me like a warm embrace. I smiled, feeling both content and hopeful as I replied, "I feel the same. I think this is just the beginning of something wonderful." As we said our goodbyes under the soft glow of streetlights, I walked home with a heart lighter than it had been in years. The evening had deepened my conviction that taking risks, opening up to the possibility of love and change, was the only way to break free from a life of quiet resignation. I knew there would be challenges ahead, and that the journey would not always be smooth, but I was ready to take those first tentative steps. That night, lying in bed, I reviewed the memories of the day, the honest conversation, the shared laughter, and even the comfortable pauses. Each moment was a quiet affirmation that the path I was embarking on was paved with hope. I realized that our connection, built on gentle truths and the courage to be vulnerable, was a promise of growth and transformation. And as I drifted off to sleep, I felt a deep, abiding sense of gratitude for the chance to open my heart and embrace a future filled with endless possibilities. The days following that evocative evening passed in a quiet blend of routine and anticipation. I found myself constantly revisiting the moments we'd shared, the laughter, the reflective silences, the way Travis's eyes seemed to hold my own hidden fears and dreams. With each passing day, the connection between us grew more complex, as if our hearts were slowly learning a language spoken only in whispers and shared glances. One crisp afternoon, as autumn began to soften the edges of the city, Travis invited me to join him for a walk in a nearby park. The invitation felt natural now, a progression from our previous encounters. We met at the park entrance, both clad in light jackets, the air carrying the faint scent of fallen leaves and promise. As we strolled along winding paths lined with ancient oaks, our conversation turned toward the delicate balance between safety and risk. Travis confessed that he often wondered if the comfort of routine was merely a shield against the unpredictable nature of true connection. I shared my own struggle, how the desire to guard my heart sometimes clashed with the yearning to embrace something genuine. Our dialogue was neither rushed nor forced. Instead, it felt like an unfolding discovery, each word a step toward understanding not only each other but also ourselves. The park, with its gentle rustling of leaves and soft murmurs of distant voices, became the backdrop for our earnest exchange. In the weeks that followed, we began meeting more frequently, sometimes in quiet cafes, other times during evening walks through city streets illuminated by the soft glow of streetlights. Each meeting carried its own quiet magic, a shared cup of coffee here, a lingering look there, moments when time seemed to pause just long enough for us to acknowledge the vulnerability in our eyes. We learned that the process of opening up was not linear. It was filled with moments of hesitation, of unspoken questions, and the persistent hope that these tentative steps might eventually lead us somewhere meaningful. I remember one particular evening when the rain had just begun to fall, casting a reflective sheen over the city. Travis invited me to his favorite little bookshop, a quiet, tucked-away place that smelled of old paper and fresh possibilities. There, amid shelves of stories waiting to be discovered, we found ourselves discussing the nature of destiny. He mentioned how, sometimes, chance encounters could be the catalyst for profound personal change, a notion that resonated deeply with me. As we wandered through the narrow aisles, our fingers occasionally brushing against one another as we reached for the same book, I felt an unspoken reassurance that our lives were slowly intertwining in ways that felt both natural and inevitable. Yet, amid these tender moments, there was also an undercurrent of caution. We were both aware that every choice carried risks, that the deeper we allowed ourselves to be seen, the more we might be exposed to heartache. One rainy afternoon, as we sat huddled near a fogged window in the bookshop, Travis admitted that he sometimes feared the loss of the self he had meticulously built over the years. His voice was soft and reflective as he spoke of past disappointments and the burden of expectations. I, in turn, confessed that I had long hidden behind routines and familiar patterns, afraid that vulnerability might shatter the carefully constructed image of myself. In that moment, as the raindrops traced delicate paths down the glass, our confessions wove us closer together. It wasn't a dramatic revelation, but a quiet, mutual acceptance of our imperfections, a promise that we would not let fear dictate our choices, the understanding that we both carried scars, yet were willing to risk the chance for healing and growth, made the connection feel all the more profound. As summer gradually yielded to autumn, our meetings continued with an unhurried grace. We explored art galleries, visited local markets, and spent long evenings discussing everything from music to our favorite childhood memories. Each encounter was a gentle affirmation that we were learning to trust in the uncertain beauty of our unfolding story. In these shared moments, I began to sense that our connection was not just about fleeting romance, but about a genuine, transformative bond that might reshape the contours of our lives. By now, the question of what lay ahead was both exciting and daunting. I often found myself pondering the possibility of a future where our paths remained intertwined, a future where the fear of the unknown was outweighed by the promise of mutual growth. Travis, too, spoke quietly about the courage it took to step out of one's comfort zone, and how the vulnerability we shared could be the seed of something lasting and true. Standing on the threshold of this new chapter, I realized that every step we had taken together was a silent declaration of our readiness to embrace change, despite the inevitable risks. In the soft light of the fading day, as we paused for a moment on a quiet sidewalk, our eyes met in a wordless exchange, a reaffirmation of the delicate yet powerful connection we had nurtured. I knew then that even if the road ahead were uncertain, the journey was worth every cautious, beautiful moment. In the soft glow of a quiet evening, everything finally seemed to align. Travis and I found ourselves once more on a familiar street, the gentle hum of the city in the background, as if the world itself had slowed down to witness our moment. We had come a long way, through uncertain beginnings, heartfelt confessions, and countless shared silences that spoke louder than words. That night, standing side by side beneath a canopy of stars, Travis reached for my hand. His touch was tender yet resolute, a silent promise that what we had was real, despite the risks we had both taken. "Jordan," he said quietly, "we've learned to embrace our fears and to trust in this connection. I believe it's the beginning of something lasting." His voice carried the warmth of all the moments we'd shared, the gentle laughter, the earnest words, and the quiet understanding that had grown between us. I looked into his eyes and felt the depth of our journey reflected there, a shared vulnerability, a courageous step into the unknown, and a future bright with possibility. "I feel the same," I replied softly. "Every moment with you has shown me that true connection isn't about perfection. It's about accepting our imperfections and growing together." In that brief exchange, all the hesitations and doubts melted away, replaced by the certainty that we had both transformed. The night air was cool, carrying whispers of promises yet to be fulfilled. As we walked slowly along the familiar path back to our separate lives, a quiet understanding settled between us. We knew that the road ahead might not always be easy, but the courage we had found in each other would light the way through any darkness. With one final glance back, a look filled with gratitude, hope, and the unspoken vow of mutual commitment, I felt that our journey had reached a beautiful turning point. Our hearts, once cautious and guarded, now beat in harmony, ready to face whatever the future might hold, together.